Hello, welcome to Scrapbooking Station. In this video I've got a shape card. A shape card that looks like a three-dimensional book, but it folds flat for mailing. So we're just going to snip into a couple corners. I got the inspiration from a Kanban collection where the base cards all look like books. So I'm going to do this one step by step, and then I've got some other samples, other themes to share. So I'm going to put the camera over my shoulder and we'll get started.
So to start off with, you're going to need your card blank, and so it can be any medium size for the corners that we're going to be cutting for this first sample. So this is a 4.5 by 6 inch card, and you're going to want to create a right triangle template because we're going to put corners in 3 places on this card base. So I did 1/2 inch here, and to create that right triangle you just measure 1/2 inch down and 1/2 inch across and then slice that off. You could use this for this template, but you're going to see it's a lot easier to be using this piece. And then I just did another one where I've got a 5/8 inch right triangle, and so we're going to put this in 2 places. So close your card because we're going to be cutting through both layers. So line this up so that you are square across the top and square across the side, so we're working in the top right corner. Then you just want to take your scissors and cut across this. Now I used a different color for my template so that'd be easy on me. So I'm just going to cut across both layers and nip it off. Then I'll go to the bottom left. So this is along the fold line. Do the same thing and cut. So make sure that's square across the fold line and the bottom of your card and cut across. So I'm bumping right up against this card. So it's not paper, it's pretty thick, but like I said, the different color helps me to see that, especially from where I'm cutting. So those are your first cuts. So when you open it up, there's a piece of topsy-turvy so you can see how that looks. The next corner I want to cut is going to be up in here. And so this needs to come from my score line. So I'm going to pop that right here, and I'm just going to cut to the tip of my template. So however you can get hold of that and come across. And it's hard to see, maybe a smaller pair of scissors would have worked. So I'm going to cut right there. Now I can go to my paper trimmer, and I'm going to come from this corner to this point here so that it's parallel to the top and bottom of my card. Then I'll be back. Okay, I decided last minute I'm just going to show you that. So I'm setting up the point here, and I know this is actually 5/8 from my score, so if I set my cutting blade here 5/8 from my score line and come across, and then if that doesn't come off clean, just go ahead and give a little bit more of a cut on your diagonal. And that is the illusion of your book. Well, let's do one more thing while I've got my cutting blade out. I'm going to go ahead and emboss that to kind of false create. Now you don't want to actually crease it after you do that. So I'm going to come across this way. And just kind of the illusion of that front book line. And all that's left now is to decorate. So I'm going to start off with the spine, which I just took the scrap that came out of here because I know it's got the right angle on it already. And I'm going to divide it up because it's a little bit short. Well, first off, I made it fit inside here. So this is 1/2 inch. So that's going to fit nicely with about a 1/16 inch border. But I want to go ahead and cut that. So I'm going to use my 5/8 again. I'm going to line it up towards the top. I'm going to use my 5/8 template. So don't get rid of your template because you could use it for embellishing all your places where you've got these corners because they're all the same angle. So let me get that on here on my spine, and it's going to look like so. So with everything you add, it's going to look more like an actual 3-dimensional book. Okay, so once you've done this, and we're going to look at other samples where I do more with the actual book cover, I call it, but your base card. But there's elements that make it look more bookish. One would be pages. And I'm just going to dog ear one page. And when I set this up, well, first off, let's talk about this, because this measurement is going to be something weird. So you want to take a ruler, go ahead and measure that. I'm going to put this only because it's the first thing that was kind of color coordinated. This actually comes out of the Owl's Hunky Dory Little Book. So I'm going to position this like this and put a sentiment on there, which I've just layered up, probably another piece of ribbon. And on the inside, I'm going to use the same size. You don't want to worry about those cut corners because pages don't have cut corners in a book. And so I'm going to extend this one up and over, and this way it can be seen from the inside. And this one I'm probably just going to position overlapping like so. So I've got my dog ear. I'm going to throw in a bookmark. So I'm going to have a little ribbon that's going to hang over the front of the card. So I'm going to get all that on here, and then I'll be back with the finished piece. So here's my finished shape book. And what I really like about it is the structure itself, and this little element of the spine really makes it look like a three-dimensional book. Of course, it's going to stand up nicely because we've got the bottom flat edges, which is really nice for a shaped card. The other thing I like is the panel that I put on front is typical of any of my rectangular cards. So I don't have to do a lot of fussy snipping or cutting or die cutting to create this look. Now on the inside, I did put lines on this bottom page to kind of create the illusion of more pages, which really doesn't work with this two-page format. We're going to take a look at other samples. Of course, the other great thing is if you buy your card blanks with matching envelopes, this is going to fit right into the envelope that's the size for this book. So as far as the first project, I was really pleased, and it's a lot of fun decorating. So I am going to take you through some other samples. And of course, the other great thing about a shaped book is that it's gender neutral and it's good for a lot of ages. So let me leave photos of this and we'll look at some of these other samples. In my second project, I kind of thought about it a little bit, and I thought, well, I could make like a composition book looking cover, or maybe a notebook looking cover, or a ledger, or something like that. And I went with a journal, because journals are books, and so I created this journal card. And this is larger, it's 5 by 7, but I still use my 5/8 right triangle to go ahead and cut through both layers on the top right, on the bottom left, opened it up, cut through here. Then what I did, well, a couple things. I've got rounded corners on the front of my cover because, like a journal, I've got a piece of pattern paper here, and then this giraffe skin that kind of makes up the cover, and the element on the spine. And then just a series of die cuts and wrapped around with twine. So these great little hinges, really good on a journal. The other thing, for these additional pages, or the look of additional pages, when I created my score line for the front fold of my book, or the false fold, I also scored some of these because I knew I was going to smudge some ink around the edges. So I've got smudged ink around the edges and then across here. And when you open it up, it just made a page. So I just got one page that looks like a record in a journal book. So again, this is 5 by 7, 5/8 corner cut, and I think this would make a great guy's card. And if you're doing like composition or notebooks, maybe for a student, someone that you know at school. So let's look at the next sample. For this card, I went for a paperback look. So these are all Kanban materials. So I took a piece of cardstock that is patterned, and I used that for my outside cover. So I've got my front and back with the flourishes. And then all I've done is outline everything. So I edged with a black Sharpie marker, edged over this, edged my score line, and then added a rectangular topper. As it happens, this one says, knows all your best stories. So I've got a sentiment that kind of reflects a book kind of theme. Then decoupaged and added some silver and a couple corners in the corners, so a couple die cuts. Then on the inside, well, first off, I just used my Sharpie marker to draw lines across to create the illusion of additional pages. And again, using my Sharpie marker to draw outlines and some more pattern papers and stamping. So this is a friendship card, and like I said, looks like a paperback romance novel. The other thing I did is I cut my corner size to 1/2 inch, so I used this corner to cut here, here, and then again on the inside and coming across. So That is the third sample. Lastly, I wanted to make a child's book. For my child's book, I wanted to make it a thinner looking book again, and I probably wouldn't go any smaller than 3/8, and this is a 3/8 corner template because it gets sort of difficult to put the spine in. And I think the spine is pretty much a critical design element to make it look like a book. Again, what I mentioned before, this is a topper. This comes from Hunky Dory's Unicorn Utopia. So this is just a topper for a rectangular type card. Fits really nicely as my book cover. Added some sequins and the sentiment. When I open it up, I just added the insert. So really nothing different than what you would do with a rectangular card, only it definitely looks like a book. So that was my last sample, so a child's book. And as you saw, I came up with lots of them really quickly. And what I love about it, it's an easy shape card to recreate. And then you just spend time decorating. And the great thing about books is it can be any theme. So, as I said before, ageless and kind of genderless, depending on what you put on your book cover. Anyway, I hope you took something with you you can use in your own card making, and I thank you for watching.